Next, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on U.S.-Canada relations and his recent conversations with President Trump on the North American Free Trade Agreement and Mr. Trump's plans to renegotiate the deal. The Prime Minister's comments came during a briefing with reporters in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan. This is 20 Minutes.
Minister Wayne Mantika from CTV. We understand the White House is sending mixed messages about what it wishes to do with NAFTA. Mr. Prime Minister, the President has tweeted that he wishes to remain in NAFTA, but if he can't renegotiate the deal in a satisfactory manner, he is willing to leave it. What is your take on your conversations with them this week and perhaps where you feel the Americans are coming from?
Well, one of the things I've said from the very beginning is that it's really important to have a constructive working relationship with the United States and with its government. This is something that matters deeply to our economy. It matters to workers and farmers across the country. It matters to all Canadians in terms of the cultural family ties and connections that we have in every different way with our closest friends, neighbors, and allies. So in a relationship as big and complex as the one with the United States, there's obviously going to be issues that we need to discuss every now and then, but also tremendous opportunities to work together for mutual benefit, for the benefit of the millions of people who work and live in ways that are interconnected across the 49th parallel. So I'm happy to engage with the President on a broad range of issues quite regularly. And what we talked about over the past couple of days has been trade and emphasizing that NAFTA has been improved a dozen times over the past 20 years, and we're happy to sit down and talk about how it can be improved now, how we can create better opportunities for our citizens, greater economic growth for our countries, and continue to amplify the impact and the strength of the North American economy.
Monsieur Trudeau, Patrick Foucault de Radio-Canada, pouvez-vous répéter en français, s'il vous plaît?
Dans les relations avec les États-Unis, j'ai toujours mis l'emphase sur le fait qu'il faut avoir des relations positives, constructives avec les Américains et de pouvoir parler d'enjeux qui surviennent de temps en temps, mais aussi parler d'opportunités que nous avons de travailler ensemble est exactement ce que je sais, ce à quoi je sais que les Canadiens s'attendent de leur gouvernement. Alors, pendant les derniers jours, on a parlé d'échanges commerciaux, on a parlé de différents enjeux, mais on s'est mis tout à fait d'accord que l'ALENA peut toujours être amélioré. Ça a été amélioré une douzaine de fois depuis 20 ans. Et nous allons s'asseoir pour regarder comment nous pouvons créer plus d'opportunités, plus de croissance économique, plus d'avantages pour les citoyens de nos deux pays.
Hi, sir. It's Jennifer Graham with the Canadian Press. Premier Bradwell said that in a conference call with you the other day regarding issues with the United States that his counsel to you was that Canada start preparing a retaliation list. He said specifically that that's worked on cool. It's what changed some heads or some minds, I guess, in the United States, just even having the list ready. So what is Canada's position on a retaliation list? What would you be looking at putting one on, and how far along are you in the process? And Francois Bell, please.
One of the things to highlight is just how closely the federal government has been working with the premiers. I really have to say that over the past months, the regular phone calls with the premiers, the collaborative approach where the various premiers have engaged in different ways with different aspects of the U.S. administration to tremendous effect. It's obvious that Canada is strong and united and engaging in a constructive, productive way. And I certainly thanked Brad for it on our call just a couple of days ago, but we also had a great call following his excellent and productive visit to Washington and to Iowa, where he was really able to continue to speak not just for Saskatchewanians, but for all Canadians in how we will work together to make sure that we're creating real opportunities. So the kind of collaboration and ongoing partnerships we have right across the country on this issue is really something I think Canadians can all be very, very proud of. On the issue of steps, obviously Canada's always going to stand up and defend Canadian interests. That's something that people know that their government will do. We always prefer to work constructively and productively on issues so that we can resolve challenges as they come up and build on opportunities. But there's no question that there's a broad range of options and paths available to us that we're looking at. But it is certainly my preference that we be able to sit down and discuss in a firm but a responsible and polite way the different ways we can move forward together to the benefit of our workers and of all Canadians. C'est certain qu'une partie intégrante de notre stratégie d'approche aux États-Unis, ça a été de travailler avec tous les premiers ministres des provinces. Et je peux souligner à quel point tous les premiers ministres ont été vraiment utiles de différentes façons à être engagés avec l'administration américaine, avec les législateurs, avec les différents paliers de gouvernement aux États-Unis, pour souligner à quel point nous sommes unis en tant que pays et prêts à travailler de façon constructive et responsable avec eux. J'ai remercié Brad Wall pour son leadership, pour ses interventions qui ont été très positives aux États-Unis, à Washington et à Iowa. Et évidemment, c'est toujours notre préférence de travailler de façon positive et respectueuse et productive dans toute négociation. Mais nous allons toujours être là pour défendre les intérêts canadiens de toute façon nécessaire. Mais pour l'instant, on essaye de garder ça à un niveau positif et collaboratif, ce que d'ailleurs le président a souligné qu'il voulait hier soir dans notre appel.
Jules Knox with Global News. You have 10 provinces with vastly different needs. In the renegotiation of NAFTA, what are you unwilling to take off the table, and how far are you willing to go to placate Trump?
First of all, the challenge of having 10 provinces with vastly different needs and perspectives isn't a downside for Canada. I think it's a tremendous advantage. I think we know that different perspectives, different solutions, different approaches wrapped together in a similar value system, a similar drive for success for our families, for our neighbors, for future generations is one of the things that has made Canada so incredibly successful over the past generations. Why the world is looking to Canada as an example of good governance, of reasonable, responsible thinking, of getting all the different balancing acts that any country has to do with broadly different perspectives by its citizens wrapped around same values is a tremendous advantage. And anytime we engage in international negotiations, whether it's the finalizing of the free trade deal with Europe that we just are on the edge of moving forward with, there's always going to be a broad range of interests and concerns. And the job of the federal government is to work closely with all different jurisdictions to make sure that we understand the opportunities, but also the challenges, and create something that is going to be for the benefit, not just in the short term, but in the long term, of all Canadians in every part of the country.
En français as well.
Un des grands avantages du Canada, c'est qu'on a un pays qui, justement, a différentes perspectives d'un bout à l'autre du pays, différents défis, mais différentes opportunités dans chaque province. Et notre capacité, en tant que gouvernement fédéral, de travailler avec les provinces, d'écouter, de comprendre les enjeux de tous les Canadiens, nous permet de mieux négocier, de mieux livrer pour l'ensemble des Canadiens. Oui, il y a des défis dans les différences de perspectives, mais c'est aussi une opportunité de reconnaître que tous les Canadiens ont différents défis, différentes opportunités. Alors, de travailler ensemble, d'être respectueux, d'écouter les provinces dans leurs préoccupations et aussi dans leurs désirs pour les négociations par rapport au commerce international, comme on a fait pour la SCG avec l'Europe, c'est un avantage que nous avons en tant que pays que je suis très content de continuer de défendre.
Adam Hunter, CBC. This just was said by the president a few moments ago. This is a quote, was going to terminate NAFTA as of 2 or 3 days from now, but the Mexican Peña Nieto and Trudeau, that's not a quote, asked if we could please renegotiate, and I like them. What's your reaction to that statement from the president?
We had a good conversation last night, and he expressed that yes, he was very much thinking about cancelling, and I highlighted that quite frankly, whether or not there was a better deal to come, there were an awful lot of jobs, an awful lot of industries right now that have been developed under the NAFTA context, and a disruption like cancelling NAFTA, even if it theoretically eventually might lead to better outcomes, would cause a lot of short and medium-term pain for an awful lot of families. And he, like me, got elected on a platform of helping people, helping the middle class, growing the economy in ways that bring along people who don't always feel like they've had a fair shake. And that's not something that either one of us would want. So we agreed that we could sit down and get to work on looking at ways to improve NAFTA, as it's been improved before, in a thoughtful way that will be to the benefit of all our countries. And that was exactly what he agreed with.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Dans notre conversation hier soir, effectivement, il a indiqué qu'il pensait sérieusement à mettre fin à l'ALENA, carrément. Mais j'ai mis l'emphase sur le fait que ce que ça amènerait comme perturbation dans nos économies dans le court terme, pendant que des industries, des emplois qui ont été établis depuis des décennies sous l'égide de l'ALENA, allaient faire beaucoup de mal à beaucoup de familles, à beaucoup de communautés à travers nos pays. Et donc, oui, j'étais très ouvert à regarder comment on peut améliorer ensemble l'accord, comme ça a déjà été amélioré dans le passé, mais que de le terminer, ça causerait beaucoup de souffrance que je trouvais pas nécessaire pour les gains théoriques qui pourraient venir dans le très long terme.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. Dave Fraser, Leader Post. Welcome back to Saskatchewan, and in particular rural Saskatchewan, where there's been a lot of concerns raised over rural crime. I'm wondering what your government is doing to address those concerns, and in French, please.
The safety of Canadians is one of the fundamental things that any level of government needs to keep top of mind. How we engage and support our first responders, our law enforcement officers, how we ensure that we're making decisions that are keeping communities safe and giving opportunities for young people to live healthy, productive lives. These are the kinds of things that any government needs to be focused on. And I'm very happy with both the collaboration we've had with provinces as we look at strengthening law and order across the country, but also to be able to count on our Minister for Public Safety, who is a very proud Saskatchewanian and is always looking at ways to make sure that everyone is safe right across the country. La sécurité publique demeure une grande priorité pour tout gouvernement. Comment nous allons garder les Canadiens, nos communautés en sécurité, est une mesure de si un gouvernement réussit ou non. Alors, je suis très, très fier des partenariats que nous avons avec les provinces, en comment nous allons appuyer nos services de police et d'autres. Mais aussi, je suis très, très fier du leadership de Ralph lui-même, qui est notre ministre de Sécurité public et qui est toujours présent pour Saskatchewan, mais pour la sécurité à travers le pays.
Prime Minister, it's Sarah Mills from CJME and CKOM. I'm not too sure if you're aware, but last week the Court of Queen's Bench ruled that non-Catholic students should not be funded to go to Catholic schools, impacting thousands of families in Saskatchewan and likely right across the country. The government here is looking at its options, but would the federal government consider a constitutional amendment to address that dilemma?
I am certainly aware of this issue, and it's one that comes down to fundamental rights, and everyone here knows that on the 35th anniversary this month of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, I'm certainly going to be standing up for everyone's rights. But I also know that at this point, that's an issue that's very much being seized at the provincial level. It may eventually make its way to the federal level, at which point we will engage and look into it. But for now, the province seems to have it well in hand.
And in French, sir, sorry.
La question de droits et libertés fondamentaux est extrêmement importante pour moi, certainement en cette année du 35e, de ce mois du 35e anniversaire de la Charte canadienne des droits et libertés. Nous allons continuer de défendre les droits, mais par rapport à cet enjeu spécifique-là, je sais que la province et le premier ministre Brad Wall est extrêmement engagé sur cet enjeu-là, et nous allons regarder et voir s'il y a éventuellement un rôle pour le fédéral à jouer là-dedans, mais pour l'instant, c'est très bien saisi au niveau provincial.
Karen Briere, Western producer. You are in a province and among a group of people who staunchly oppose a carbon tax. What can you say to them today?
As I was sitting down with the Lewis family this morning, a lot of the conversations we had, I'm a bit of an innovation and technology nerd, so I love seeing how things are going. And it was explained to me how the new sprayers are linked into GPS now with nozzles that actually turn off when you're going over an overlap as you spray, as you lay down, which of course reduces the amount of product you need, prevents overspraying, but also saves on gas, saves on your fuel costs. So how we innovate, how we get more efficient, how we work towards a country and businesses that are less polluting and more efficient is something that every farmer gets. How you can improve our capacity to modernize, to innovate, and to be more efficient is something that we know from generation to generation. I mean, I was certainly talking to Dawn about that, all the changes we've seen over the years and over the decades have led to tremendously positive outcomes. Well, we know that climate change means more extreme weather events. It means more periods of moisture that is interfering with our ability to collect seeds to harvest at the same time. You have to wait for the changing weather patterns to shift a little bit, and that's why they were harvesting well into mid-November last year on the Lewis farm. Our climate is changing. Our world is changing. We have to adapt to it. We have to make sure we're creating the technology and the innovation that's going to allow us to continue to be successful, not just now, but in future generations. But we also have to look at our responsibility to pollute less. And putting a price on carbon pollution is a way of encouraging and rewarding people who are innovating and reducing their carbon pollution outputs. Now, I can understand the concerns people have, which is why we have ensured that any revenue collected from pricing carbon will remain in the province in which it's generated. This is not about bringing money out of Saskatchewan. It's about rewarding people in Saskatchewan who are innovating and getting more efficient. And what it actually means is, as you innovate and make investments that are better in terms of fuel efficiency, in terms of productivity, you're going to be rewarded more than others who won't make those changes. So it's a market-based solution that encourages more of what we want and less of what we don't want, which is pollution. This is something that I know represents a change, represents a bit of a shift, but it's one that I truly believe we need to do. Canadians understand that you cannot separate, especially not a room like this, understands that we cannot separate what's good for the environment and what's good for the economy. We need to draw on them both together. That means looking at new ways of doing things in a responsible, thoughtful way. That's exactly what this leadership on climate change is all about. It's about respecting the province's capacity to innovate, encouraging what Saskatchewan's doing around carbon sequestration, which is tremendously positive, promising technology, but also respecting the fact that people can make decisions that are better for the environment and better for the bottom line and enhance that advantage for the bottom line. That's what putting a price on carbon is all about. It's about building a better future both for the environment and for the jobs that our kids and grandkids are going to have. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you very much.